What do you say? What do you know? It's the full Monte Sports Show. It is Tuesday, November 24th, 2020. I am your host, Monte Perez, a.k.a. The Sports Whisperer. It is Taco Tuesday. I want to thank everyone for tuning in over the last 3 months. We are trending number 3 on YouTube after only just a few short months. Again, trending number 3 on YouTube. Our goal is to do this 5 days a week. We can only do that with the help of you. So if you like this show, you like what we do, sports and comedy, definitely tell at least one friend this weekend so they can watch us on Sunday, watch us on Tuesday. A big part of my success is my co-host. Let's bring him on right now. Rico, show me the money, Graziano. Rico, how are you today?
I'm good. A big part. Yes, thank you. I'm very I'm flattered. I can't believe that you said that out loud. I mean, we both know that I'm such a big part of the show, but the fact that you said it, I'm like, I don't know. I'm feeling a little, I don't know what that is inside of me, that warm, fuzzy feeling, because I've never gotten affirmation before. But
Rico, let me just say, I'm glad you brought that up. Would you say that when it comes to this show, I am super prepared, I am super consistent, and I work really hard? Would you say that?
I 1,000,000%. You know what? I gotta say, as hard as I go, you definitely do triple, quadruple what I do, and I am very impressed. We've been doing this for years. Being on the YouTube channel is this year, but I mean, when we've been doing the radio show for so many years, like your notes. I thought I took good notes, and you sent me your notes, and I was like,
okay, Rico, so you've seen how consistent I am, how hard I work. You've been on TV shows. You've been on reality TV shows. You've been on movie sets. So why the hell every Tuesday do I get a text message from you saying, hey, man, 8:50, mic check? Yeah, Rico, sound check every week. Why do you continue to do that? And every Sunday, you're like, what time am I going on? Am I not the most organized person when it comes to the show? Why is it that every Sunday you text me what time you're going on? And why is it you text me every Tuesday what time you're coming on?
well, I'm happy. I'm glad that I do that, because most of the people I know who have become successful do that every time. They're always like, I'm like, it said your call time says 8:10. He's like, yeah, but I'm not sure. I need to check with the director, or I need to check with the line producer. So I'm glad I'm a little, see, look, I'm Hollywood. That's just what Hollywood does. Hollywood doubles checks, triple checks. I just want to know what time I'm needed, and I want to be reminded how I'm needed at that time. And without me, things can go wrong.
Rico, we're consistent every week. It's the same time every week. Every time you text me, I'm like, is he serious? We've been doing this for 4 years. Like, what is going on?
I don't know. Every Sunday, I'm like, did he say 8:55 or 9 o'clock? Even though I know it's 9 o'clock. It's 9.
All right, Rico, let's get right to it. We start each show with the 3 big questions. But before we do that, I have some breaking news. We have some breaking news right now. Rico, the Jets have been eliminated from the NFL postseason. They are the first team to be eliminated this year.
I cannot believe it. I'm totally shocked. I'm so sorry. I know you're a Jet fan. I mean, I saw it. I saw the comeback coming. I saw it happening. You know, I saw a sweep of the rest of the season.
You know what's so funny? We could have posted this after week 1.
We could have posted it. I'm not, it's legitimately, and you know by the numbers and odds, week 4, 0-4. The odds of the team making the playoffs is like 90, like 20, 15%. Yeah, it's
right.
0-4.
Only recently, a few teams, I know the Chargers did it a while back and the Giants did it. They started 0-3, but before that, I think one team in the last 30 years started 0-3. But 0-4, you can't make it. But speaking of 3, let's start with the 3 big questions. Now, look, I'm going to say this, and I've watched more football this year than I ever have. I think the AFC is 1,000 times better than the NFC. There's no dominant team in the NFC, Rico, but I could see 3 or 4 teams, okay, between the Chiefs, the Steelers, Titans, maybe the Bills, and maybe if the Ravens get their act together, please tell me you agree that the AFC is a lot better than the NFC.
Well, the AFC clearly is a lot better. I mean, you have just even though Baltimore is playing terrible, and I still think they have to tune things in. I mean, even Baltimore, which you'd say is the number 5 team in the AFC, is still pretty much. But you can't take away from Green Bay. And I know you hate New Orleans Saints, but they're winning and they're playing well, and you really can't take that away from them. But when you're talking about the Chiefs, the Steelers, the Titans, who could beat pretty much anybody on any given day. And that's not like on any given Sunday. Like they're a solid defensive team, and then you go. I mean, Green Bay sometimes looks like they roll over and play dead. They should have. I don't get how they.
You're in agreement with me that the AFC is a lot better. And before you answer that question, people are texting me. They're having problems with the chat room, but try to keep them coming. We'll see if we can get that worked out. So you agree with me?
Yeah, you know what? I don't agree with you much, but I got to agree with this because it's an easy agreement. It's not like, again, you have the undefeated Steelers, my boys, and then you have, the AC, and then you have the Titans, and then you have, and it's not out of nowhere, but the Bills looks, I mean, when they're on. They look unbeatable. And any one of those 4 teams, when they're clicking, they can't be beat, which is exciting about the playoffs in the AFC. Because I feel like by the time that comes, it's going to be a lot of team clicking and down to like the last possession football.
Okay, let's talk about the Miami Dolphins pulled Tua in the second half of their game. What is Miami doing here? We've seen Josh Allen play terrible. We've seen Carson Wentz play terrible. We've seen Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson struggle. They don't get pulled. And what I don't understand is the national media is like, no, this was the right move. He was struggling. He's going to start. But here's the problem. You put Ryan Fitzpatrick in, and you put him in to help you win the game, and he throws an interception in the end zone like he always does to lose the game. So don't tell me pulling Tua, who's a young quarterback, was the right move here.
No, it wasn't game time, daytime, that day football. No, it wasn't the right move. But, the coach, I cannot believe I'm blanking on his name. I was reading about him today, the way he plays and the way he's the type of coach that wouldn't mind going quarterback by committee. He's that type of guy. And he did put Fitzpatrick in, and Fitzpatrick does what he does. He threw an interception, to remind us all why Tua is starting. That question of why he's starting is out the window. But also, do you really want to keep your franchise quarterback, the king, your next 20 years on the field for a game that may mean nothing? They're battling for a playoff spot. They most likely will get into the playoffs. Do you really want to?
But Rico, wait a minute here. I've seen Josh Allen struggle. Carson Wentz struggles every week. You got to let this guy learn on the job. Why are you taking him out? And if your thing was we took him out because we wanted to win the game, you lost because Ryan Fitzpatrick threw an interception.
Well, looking at Joe Burrow and watching the Bengals leaving him out there, and he was getting hit against the Steelers, the Browns. This guy, it was only a matter of time before that injury happened or some other injury, a shoulder, a cracked rib or something. I mean, I haven't seen the quarterback get that beat up since Troy Aikman's rookie year when they went it was 16-game season back then, or 15.
1-15 they went. Yeah.
1-15.
No, but Rico, Brian Flores said we took him out. He didn't say we took him out because he was getting beat up. He didn't say we took him out because we wanted to protect him. Brian Flores said we took him out because he wasn't performing. The guy's in his 4th start. Let him learn on the job, because if you took him out because he wasn't performing, Ryan Fitzpatrick threw an interception.
Yeah, but Brian Flores is the guy, and I was reading a lot about him today, is that he is high intensity, all business. He doesn't play around. If he says to do this, you do it or you're not going. He makes Bill Belichick look like a choir boy. Like, he is one of those guys that is at an intense level, and that's that. And everybody agreed with when he made that decision. Nobody questioned it, not even Tua. He put on his headset, went to the sideline.
I questioned it right away, because if you want to win the game, the end. It's like, okay, the bases are loaded. Mariano Rivera walked 3 batters. You take him out. Someone comes in, hits a grand slam. It's the wrong move because the end result didn't work.
Yeah, well, the end result didn't work. But again, you could have been, This guy is your franchise. You think they're gonna probably make it with the extra spot to the playoffs. I really think that they are. I think he was thinking ahead, and you're right. He gave up the game, but Fitzpatrick prior to this game and doing what he did was playing really well. You can't
100%.
argue with that. So putting in Fitzpatrick sounded like a quick, like, hey, go in there. I believe Tua was hurt more than they let on because they didn't want to, let the whole fan base know that we did invest our future into a kid that everybody knew was a little broken. You know what I'm saying? So I think that they were
Okay.
like,
All right.
better
All right.
safe than sorry.
All right. All right. Let's talk about your Steelers. Let's get the background up here for your 10-0 Steelers. Listen, Chase Claypool is 10-0. Chase
Man,
Claypool
I need
is
another finger.
one of only 4 players in the history of the NFL to have 10 touchdowns in his first 10 games. They play the Ravens, who are battling COVID. They play the Washington football team, the Bills, Bengals, Colts, Browns. I give the Steelers a 75% chance of going undefeated. What do you say?
The big thing about this is that I would like to see them go undefeated, and you're probably playing right to the end. Roethlisberger is probably going to play the last game of the season, short of Kansas City losing another game. Right now, we have a 1-game lead. We're not even looking at a division because, mathematically speaking, if we win Thursday, I think that we can clinch the division already. So that being said, that's already in the playoffs. And
If the Chiefs don't lose another game, the Chiefs have won. They're 18-1 in the last calendar year. So you may need that game for home field advantage. Not that it might. Maybe
yes,
they'll.
yes.
So you might have to play all 16 games.
He might have to play all 16 games because even if we lose one game and they don't and they went out the rest of the year because of schedule strength, they get the bye, not us. Because their
Rico,
schedule strength.
listen, the Seahawks have the easiest string of games. Steelers have some easy games. But do you agree with Kevin here? Were you this high on Chase Claypool? Ended up the Steelers always do a tremendous job of drafting wide receivers. Were you this high on him coming out?
When it comes to Pittsburgh and wide receivers, my Levy and me were talking about him, and he was surprised that he went so low in the draft of all those other wide receivers because he said he goes, he's so big, he could play the tight end. Like he's not one of those guys that doesn't care. Like if they plug him in at the tight end spot, he would have totally did it. And this is what we were talking about in the beginning of the season. And how do you argue with Pittsburgh's wide receivers when did we think they needed a wide receiver? You have James Washington, you have Juju, you have Deontay Johnson. Like you have enough. Why would you get them? Because
Eric Ebron, tight end. You got Ebron at the tight end position. Yeah.
Vance McDonald. Like you had a lot of guys. Why would they pick this guy? And you know what? I mean, talk about a move. And he's like alpha out there. When you see him,
no.
I mean,
you're missing great.
All the pass interferences that have been called against on him. Like there's at least 2 a game in the last 3 games. So those are intentional pass interferences, which is like an in-depth stat that a lot of people don't talk about.
Yeah, he's been everything. Him and Jefferson from Minnesota at LSU have been phenomenal. So those are the 3 big questions that we start the show. Now let's go around the horn. We're going to recap every game in the NFL. Give us about 5-6 minutes. Then we're going to get, within 10 minutes, we're going to get Greg Rector and Eric Sheriff on. I'm talking with Rico Graziano live here on YouTube on the Full Monty Sports Show. All right, Rico, let's get right to it. The 7-3 Rams, our good friend George Lopez was right about this game. 27-24, Rams number 1 in total defense. Jared Goff threw the ball 51 times. There was a ton of turnovers. Rico, can I make the argument that this vertical passing game where the Tampa Bay Bucks want to throw it downfield, it didn't work last year with Jameis Winston. Tom Brady's on pace to throw 15, 16 interceptions, the most he's had in a long time. Can I make the argument that not only is the coaching staff outdated in Tampa because they want to beat you deep, where that doesn't work? You look at teams like the Patriots had all those years, short little passes. You look what the 49ers do, the Rams do. You look at what how the Saints win. They don't throw the ball deep. Sometimes Tom Brady looks like Peyton Manning his last year in Denver.
Watching that game last night and seeing that a team like Tampa Bay has got all these long runners, these deep guys, and not having a quarterback to get. I mean, some of those interceptions, that one interception looked like he didn't have the arm to reach him. I was like, what was that? Like, 2 picks. I couldn't believe what I was watching because he was open. And then again, Tom Brady's big money is in the middle. those short things, those short passes. And whenever you're like, oh, he threw a 60-yard pass, it's because the wide receiver broke for 60 yards. It was not even heartbreaking. I was just like, I don't know what they're doing. I get you want to stretch the field, show that you can do it, but they were calling him out. They were like, do it, go
Listen,
ahead. And they were burning him.
What I'm saying here is George is right, and
George.
so is Greg. He doesn't have the arm strength, but Bruce Arians is not adapting to Brady. He wants him to throw it deep. It didn't work with Jameis Winston, who has a super strong arm, because let's face it, in this league, it's quick pass over the middle, slant, and then set it up. These long pass plays are a thing of the past in the modern offense. Is Bruce Arians' offense just outdated?
I don't like. You can't say it's outdated. I don't think that he's tuned in to the fact of what he's. You get Tom Brady, you think you can do everything, and I think he's learning what Bill Belichick learned 15 years ago when they weren't blowing out Super Bowls. Is that this is what my guy can do, and I better make it so I know what my guy can do. Bill Belichick, every player he plugs in is almost like a specialty player. Like Tom Brady's a specialist. Don't make him do things he can't do.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. All right, let's move to the 9-1 Chiefs. Beat the 6-4 Raiders. Look, the Chiefs are, like I said, are 18-1. Rico, look at this right here. Look at the Raiders' defense with the game on the line. Look how wide open Travis Kelce is. I mean, that's with the game on the line. And what I love about this game is you could say whatever you want about Patrick Mahomes. 2 minutes left in the game. There's no one better. He doesn't panic. But can we walk away with this game and say, look, the Raiders are not that far off because they beat them this year and then they battled them to the very end. But this is unexcusable. Look how wide open he was.
I was in shock when I saw that catch. I first of all, it's not like it was a no-name guy who was wide open. You're talking the best tight end and their best wide receiver on their team pretty much. And to not have a man literally hugging him to all game was shocking to me. So when I saw that play, yes, it's blown coverage, but still, somebody should be on him all day. He should never even think it was shocking. And also what the Raiders showed is that they're, yes, of course there's blown coverage, but still, I mean, you have an assignment. Like, that's their number one guy.
Right.
Anyway, but it showed how whatchamacallit, the Chiefs are vulnerable. They're not indestructible. The whole game.
No. Listen, the Raiders give them matchup problems. And Greg, yes, I agree with you. But if you remember, Russell Wilson, when he came into the league, was a game manager. This is really the last 2-3 years we've seen him throw deep because that's the personnel. What I'm saying with Bruce Arians, it's been the same since he got into the league. Throw it deep. He lived that way with Andrew Luck, and Andrew Luck had a ton of interceptions under Arians. Jameis Winston had the most interceptions, and now we're seeing Tom Brady be a turnover machine. So Bruce Arians has to adjust. Pete Carroll has adjusted this year.
What Greg is missing is the fact that does Tom Brady have 2 years to make chemistry with these guys? Does he have 2 or 3 years? Like, we're going to talk about a 46-year-old player who's just getting chemistry with these guys? No. He has to do
Next
it now.
time.
That's it. The clock is there. I know he wants to play to 45, but.
All right, let's move to the 7-3 Seahawks. The Seahawks won 28-21 over the Arizona Cardinals. Rico, Seahawks have the easiest schedule remaining, and listen to this. They are 10-1 on Thursday night since 2010. Most teams struggle to prepare on Thursday night, not the Seahawks, and this is why I'm telling you right now, I know you want to give it to Patrick Mahomes. Russell Wilson may be the MVP before it's said and done because they do have the easiest schedule. He'll put up some big numbers.
Well, again, we'll see. Patrick Mahomes also has he has a harder schedule, but which might play a role in it. If you have two players who are going head to head, just like with Pittsburgh and them, Pittsburgh has an easier schedule. So
all right.
It plays a big factor into it.
Move on to the Browns the Washington football team 3-7 over the 2-7-1 Bengals. Listen, the Bengals are 0-18-1 in their last 19 road games. Joe Burrow is going to miss over a year. It was reported yesterday and today. He not only has a torn ACL, he has a torn MCL. He tweeted, thanks for the love. See you next year. My brother said that I didn't give Joe Burrow any love, that I thought Joe Burrow was going to stink. That is not true at all. What I said is that Joe Burrow is going to get his butt kicked. He's going to get his ass kicked. He was on pace to be sacked the most times I haven't seen since Derek Carr's brother when he got sacked 72 times one year. And this is what I thought would happen to Burrow. I thought he would get murdered. He would get concussions. He got worse than what I thought because a torn MCL, a torn ACL. Listen, this is a terrible, terrible loss for a team. But when you don't draft offensive linemen, this is what happens, right?
Well, this is why you don't throw your quarterback, your rookie quarterback in the fire. This is just, it shows how smart KC is with Patrick Mahomes. They put Tua in. Tua was more of a forced entry in a sense because Herbert was doing so good. And, so I saw it during the Steeler game. His jersey was the most dirty jersey on the field. And I was like, yeah, this guy is not – it wasn't going to have a good outcome.
No. And listen, thoughts and prayers for him. He's a great kid, so hopefully he'll recover. Listen, Browns 7-3 beat the 3-6-1 Eagles. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt did the double package. Both of those guys can rush for over 100 yards every game. But, Rico, I'm off the Carson Wentz bandwagon. So many turnovers. Here's the problem. His head coach, Doug Peterson, is not holding him accountable. He's saying no matter what he does, he will not lose his starting job. This was the first time the Browns won in Philadelphia since 1994 when Bill Belichick was the head coach. So I'm off the Carson Wentz bandwagon. I'm done with him.
Well, it comes down to it's not so much Peterson. It's the owner. The ownership loved Carson Wentz. They love him. So I said this in the beginning of the year. He would have to burn the team down to not be started. And they don't got nobody else. So
yeah, no, it's terrible. I mean, but listen, they drafted Jalen Hurts, but they don't want to give him a shot, the kid out of Oklahoma. All right, let's move to the – listen, the 8-2 Saints dominated the Falcons 24-9. Look at this stat right here. Okay, again, I'm going to bring this up. Marcus Mariota is an anomaly. Marcus Mariota should be starting somewhere. He's accurate. He makes people miss. But Taysom Hill had a very good game. I said it with Chris Roseviglu on our show. Listen, this kid can make plays in the short term. What's so disgusting about this, Rico, and I'm going to put the camera on me because I'm giving you a warning right now. You beat me in fantasy football for the first time in 4 weeks by 0.5 points. Because Matt Ryan got me 0.72 points. Now there was a play. He didn't even get me 1 point. So I'm beating you 7-4. But you won this week. But there was a play late in the game where Calvin Ridley had a catch and they called it incomplete. So I've gotten Rudy Giuliani and I've gotten the commissioner involved, and there's going to be a recount. Because if Matt Ryan completes that pass and it's ruled a completion, I get 1 point and I beat you. So I am not accepting the loss. The 7-4 loss. I am not accepting that. There's going to be a recount.
Thank God for that play, because on my fantasy football team, which I ended up losing this week, if that would have happened, I would have lost to you. And at that time, I thought I was going to win. But it worked out great for me. Hey, sometimes it takes a little luck to get moving forward.
Listen, the Saints sacked Ryan 8 times. Rico, he didn't even get me 1 point. I'm demanding a recount because I went back and I looked at the tape. So this is not over. You may think it's over, but I'm getting Rudy Giuliani involved.
I was about to say, you sound like him. You sound like him. That's it. I already got my transition team in for next week.
Listen, no one has ever said this to me, but think about this. He got me 0.72 points. Not even one.
Not even
one.
That's all it takes. It's like race carring. It's like
all
race car
right, listen,
driving.
Rico.
Go ahead, let's go to the next.
10-0 Steelers. We talked about this. What I liked about this game, Rico, a lot of times is the Steelers play down to their competition. They didn't. They started slow, but they dominated the game.
Yeah, they started slow, but you know what? Every team has their game plan, and that's just the way it works out. Even the Titans, their game plan is stuff it, and then and they just stick to the game plan, and that's that, and that's what they did, and that's just what a lot of teams do. And people think that it's a slow start. I mean, they wanted to establish a run game. Wasn't really happening, but they still kept trying.
Yeah, no, listen. All right.
I'm gonna have to switch these soon.
I'm laughing at the comments. All right, listen, I was shocked to this. The Patriots lost. By the way, I had a terrible week picking games. I was terrible. I had 3 wins. But Rico, as bad as I was, I'm 88-34 picking games. I am 54 games above 500. I know Greg's going to come on in a couple minutes and try to kill me for it, but I'm 54 games above 500.
Yeah, you're doing great, almost as good as I am. I'm picking against a hard spread, and I'm picking games that I don't even know what they are till Thursday night.
Rico, I
So how
just
much
gave you
we know this
credit.
week?
I've given you credit all through the show. I said you're a big part of
I
this,
need
and,
more.
and you're cutting me down. All right, so were you shocked at this? And let me ask you this question. Is Cam Newton done in the NFL?
He's not done. Who else do they got? What are they going to put? Statman, what's his name?
I'm talking about next year. He signed a one-year deal.
Yeah, it's possible. He'll be somebody's backup somewhere. He knows systems. He knows how to plug and play.
Okay,
Yeah,
I don't see.
I love that. Who just said that, because they're right. They're the worst. I'm gonna have to switch. I already got backup on.
All right, let's get to the Carolina Panthers 4-7. I had the
I'm switching.
Panthers. All right, switch. I had the Panthers winning 5 games. Vegas had them 5, so they're obviously going to do that. They won without Teddy Bridgewater. They won without Christian McCaffrey. But here's what I'm going to say, and it's really, really embarrassing, Rico. Like, you don't score a point. You don't score a point in the NFL to a team that has nothing to play for. Matt Patricia, I am so disgusted with this guy. The team quit on him. It's grotesque. I had Matt Prater as my field goal kicker in fantasy football. He didn't even get me a point. How do you get shut out to the Carolina Panthers?
You have to give me a second. I don't know why I'm not hearing you right.
Okay, you could take them off and see if you could just do it that way. Just when the guests come on, there might be a background.
It might.
All right, I'm going to move on, Rico, to try to work that out. The 7-3 Titans won in overtime. Look, how about this? How about this stat for all the people out there who don't like Ryan Tannehill? Ryan Tannehill has 5 game-winning drives. That is the most in the NFL. And obviously, anytime Derrick Henry, late in games, you give it to him. They are number 1 in rushing attempts, not the Ravens. This Titan team, I don't like their defense, but they battle every week.
I'm still having a problem with you.
Okay, you can't hear me?
Oh, no, there we go. I'm good.
All right.
I'm back.
Okay, and finally, Rico, we're going to get to the 0-10 Jets. Listen, Justin Herbert is on pace to have 37 touchdowns. That will destroy the rookie record. Greg and I agreed for the first time in our lives about this kid. I said he was going to be Rookie of the Year. I said he's more of an athlete than Big Ben. He's got his size. This kid can't do anything more as far as I'm concerned.
Well, he was the front runner of Rookie of the Year anyway. I know a lot of people were talking about Joe Burrow, but he's lights out. Fantasy-wise, he's great. I had him this week. He's the reason I beat you this week.
Yes, that is true. Finally, the 7-3 Colts win in overtime over the Packers, 34-31. Look, I'm just going to say this right now. The Packers are like a finesse boxer, okay? If they could keep you at bay, if they have a lead, they're good. But what the Colts did in the second half is they ran the ball, they smash mouth football. As soon as that boxer gets punched, he backs away. If you punch the Packers in the mouth, they're done. They're done. They are the ultimate soft finesse team.
What annoyed me is that you're in overtime and you bring in somebody, a no name, to carry the ball through. Like, you stick to your guns, you stick to your big players in overtime. This is not like time to throw a screen pass to some whoever. You got monster players. You got like the best big 3 in football, and you're depending on, the play calling in overtime annoyed me. It was only 2 plays, but it only took the second one for him to fall apart.
And you know what really annoys me too, and then we'll get our 2 guests on. I saw this with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. The Chiefs' last play in the second quarter, driving down, they have their third string running back in. Aaron Jones, 30 touchdowns in 34 games. They put in Williams at the end. Like, I don't understand this rotation. In what world does the backup running back have just as many carries as Alvin Kamara? Like, that happened on Sunday. Like, what are we doing? Why are we resting running backs when they don't rest wide receivers?
I think that, that's the difference in this one game bye, this one team bye. They've already probably accepted that they're not going to be that team. And because of that, they're starting to save players already. That's the backfill that was talked about prior, is our team's going to be saving guys because they know they're not getting that bye. Like somebody like Pittsburgh and KC will be running full strength to the end to get that bye. Everybody else will be saving people from week 14, 15, 16. I mean, it's going to make a mess of fantasy football also.
Yeah, no, it really does. It really does. All right, there you go. We go around the league with the NFL with Rico Show Me the Money Graziano. Let's bring on Greg Rector. Let's bring on Eric Sheriff. How are you guys doing today?
Good, Monty.
Greg, how are
What's
you?
up, guys?
Greg,
Thanks
you're
for
on
being
mute. Greg, you're on mute.
I'm okay now.
There you
There we
go.
go.
There he is.
All right. Listen, we're going to start with you, Eric, right away. Right away, I want to get to this. Can we say that the Lakers had the best offseason, not only of any team, but any championship team? Now, someone brought up that KD went to the Warriors, but they lost the year before. They get Montrezl Harrell, Dennis Schroeder, Wesley Matthews, and Marc Gasol. For the first time in LeBron's career, he could sit on the bench and he could have these guys score 20 points.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I do wonder if for some time they're going to miss Rajon running the point when LeBron's on the bench, because it's not with Rondo. It wasn't about just matching the system that Frank Vogel has. Is that organic feel that allows him to mimic a lot of what LeBron does with his assists. So, but look, they got, like you said, they got Schroeder, instant points. You got Wesley Matthews, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, he's back. Marc Gasol, he's going to love not having to push himself or feel like, was it last year with Toronto?
Yes,
who wasn't relied upon so much, but he's going to be able to sit out on the arc more often than say who'd they lose? Than Dwight Howard ever would have.
Right, or JaVale McGee. Greg, you could talk about Marc Gasol. What's he going to mean to this team? Very good low post defender, very good passer, super smart, high basketball IQ.
Well, that's one thing that the Raptors are going to miss a little bit is his low post defense. I mean, he was a Joel Embiid killer. He just absolutely destroyed Embiid time after time. Embiid hated to go up against Gasol for that reason.
Yeah, he's a very good low post defender.
Well, not just very good low post defender, but he does something that a lot of big men aren't good at these days. He gets himself set. And when he is set, he is an absolute brick wall.
And Greg, very underrated passer, right? He could be at the top
huge.
of the key. Yeah.
Yeah. Although it drove me nuts, of course, keeping him at the top of the key. Throw the ball, get your butt down to the basket. Thank you very much. Don't stay out there. No, I don't need you shooting threes.
Right.
You know.
You were saying it all year long on Twitter. I remember.
All right. So look, Greg, let's talk about
I say it about every center, however, though.
Let's talk about the Raptors. Tell the average fan who doesn't follow them who they kept, who they lost. Will this team be as good as they were last year?
Okay, so basically we lost Gasol and Ibaka. So the two big guys in the front court gone. What they brought in, Alex Len, who was with Atlanta and Sacramento, DeAndre Bembry from the Hawks, and Aaron Baines. So that's Baines and Len are going to be up front, of course.
Big bodies can rebound, yeah.
Big bodies, rebounders. Len actually had a couple of pretty good scoring games as well when given the opportunity to. So the more important guy actually though that they've signed is Bembry, because this guy is a much more physical version of Norman Powell. He's going to be a much better defender. If you ever saw the Hawks play, this guy can defend.
Yeah.
He's not as quick as Powell. That's granted. But what he does do on the offensive end, because he doesn't have a jump shot, I don't want him to have a jump shot. You know my number one rule.
Yeah.
If the threes are not going down, get your rear end.
You have the Greg Popovich philosophy. Only shoot the three if necessary. But your team with Van Fleet and Lowry and even Serge Ibaka, those threes kept them alive in the playoffs.
Yeah, the threes do keep you alive, but however, when the three isn't going down, get yourself to the basket and get some confidence. That's all I'm asking.
That's
you
it.
know, like
now, are the Raptors? They're obviously very well coached. They still have their big three. Is this a 50-win team?
It can be. The two draft picks. Yeah, here's the difference in philosophy from the Raptors to a whole lot of other organizations. They don't touch one and done guys. Malachi Phillips, 4 years.
Yeah.
Jalen Harris, 3 complete years. They're men. They're ready to play against men.
Yeah.
That's the philosophy, right? That's what they look at. Now, Malachi Phillips scares me a little bit because he's only 6'1". We've already, of my feelings about the 2 6-footers out there together all the time. Yeah. It drives me bananas. Jalen Harris, however, makes up for it. 6'5".
So you're saying 50 wins. I mean, doable.
They're still capable of it simply because of the way that they play defense.
Okay. All right, Eric.
They're capable of it.
Let's move to you. Where does Russell Westbrook end up? You know, someone brought this up to me on my show Sunday, Kirk Acevedo, the activist, and he said that the Knicks should go after Westbrook for one reason. The Knicks have been so bad for so long. They need to get some credibility. And with Westbrook, you're winning 42, 43 games. No matter who you bring in right now, the Knicks aren't going to do that. And for the first time, I said, you know what? The Knicks suck at the draft. They've only had 2 players in David Lee and Kristaps Porzingis, who they drafted since 1999, who made the All-Star game. They traded him the following year. So why not go after Russell Westbrook and win 45 games?
Yeah, I don't think Tom Thibodeau would be in on him, at least defensively.
That's a good point.
He's a rigid. He's trying. He's just like, if I may, just like Mike McCarthy is trying with the Dallas Cowboys to not be representative of his old way of doing things.
Right.
Thibodeau, he hasn't even started yet, and we got to see if he's going to allow someone. If he'd allow someone like that, he's not going to view him as a Derrick Rose back in his prime, who could do both defense and offense. So it's about fit. You asked me, where would he end up? Who would want to absorb that 3-year, $132 million plus deal that's left? Which up and coming rebuilding team would want like a bridge player, like a CP3? Okay, so let's work backwards. Okay, Memphis Grizzlies. They've been looking for a replacement, kind of sort of, for Jimmy Butler and Derrick Rose. That type of aggressive scoring, get after you for 2.5 years, 2 years. Okay, because they left in consecutive years. You've got maybe the Chicago Bulls. Billy Donovan could use his old player, but you got to wonder.
They actually had a very good relationship. Even when he left, there was no bitterness when he left OKC.
That's good, because my wonder is how much was Donovan on board with, do we have to get him out of here because he's earned the right to go to a contender during our down years in OKC, right? And then you've got perhaps the Charlotte Hornets. There was a time when Michael Jordan referred to Russell Westbrook as, this guy's me and but he's in his 30s. High energy, passion, everything. He loves the game. But do they want to, say, flip some of their poor performing, overpriced guys in return to give them a new environment in return for Westbrook, who would run through a brick wall for MJ? But would that just get you into the playoffs or close to the second round, and that's it?
Well, look, I'm going to interrupt you right there, because I lose my mind. I've written articles about this. Michael Jordan is the worst owner in sports. Greg, he just gave Gordon Hayward $30 million, who's not even a top 30 player. Yep. What is Michael Jordan doing? Why does he get a pass?
Michael Jordan doesn't deserve a pass. He's never deserved a pass. You know that, and you know how nutso I get when even the great Tar Heels are mentioned, and I don't include him as a great Tar Heel. Everybody gets mad at me because he was an individual. He doesn't know the Tar Heel way. But anyhow, Jordan as an owner is absolutely abysmal. He doesn't deserve a pass. I feel so bad for Ball going there. I think it is the worst place that Ball could have ended up is with that.
That's exactly what I said.
It's like ending up with the Jets.
Here's what I said about Ball. I said, you could think that it's going to be a good fit, but Michael Jordan made this pick. So we know it's not going to work, because he's only picked one. No, the only guy he ever got was Kemba Walker, and he left. He left.
Yeah. And no success whatsoever in running an organization. This is a different thing from being the guy on the floor. He's not a good owner, plain and simple.
No, listen. James Dolan is the worst owner in sports, but Michael Jordan is the worst decision maker in sports. All right, Greg, where's James Harden going to end up? Is he going to Brooklyn?
The Rockets really are playing hardball with this one. They thinking that they're quite prepared to stick with Harden no matter what, unless they get what they want. Now you look at what the Bucks gave up for Holiday, and I think that was the most horrible trade you are going to see.
They gave up 3 number 1 picks.
5 picks overall.
Yes,
5.
Yeah.
And there's no way that the 76ers have that many picks to give away. So it's not going to be Philadelphia. It does look like Brooklyn. So if Brooklyn is willing to do this deal, they're going to have to give up both Allen and LeVert at least, plus that many picks.
Yeah, and listen, Kyrie Irving doesn't want to be the third fiddle. Kyrie didn't want to be the second fiddle to LeBron. So Kevin Durant wants James Harden in Brooklyn. Kyrie Irving doesn't want him. So it's going to be interesting to see where those guys end up. But Eric, would you agree? And then Greg, we'll get to you. Who is your favorite to win the championship again if they stay healthy? It's got to be the Lakers, right? They're better than they were last year.
Yes, injuries and mental mistakes will be the only things that prevent the Lakers from repeating it. They've just gotten stacked, and they're not done. As I think we all agree, there's still time. Do a little more flipping there.
Yeah.
You agree, Greg?
Whatever state has the lowest COVID-19 at the time, that's who's winning. Are you kidding me? I'm still frightened of this traveling, et cetera, that the league wants to do. I really, really think they're just going to have a nightmare trying to keep these players in line, away from anybody else who's infected, et cetera, et cetera. This is, to me, they are not going to succeed the way that they did in the bubble. Personally, what I would have done is created 8 bubbles, 4 teams in each one, and then you could travel between bubbles, but limit that travel. So then you got, like a tournament schedule. Right. You go into this bubble, et cetera, right?
The problem is the players didn't want to do that with a 70-game schedule. So
that's right.
They would have done it with like a 45, 50-game schedule, but the owners wanted the money, so they didn't do that. All right, we can talk about basketball all day, but I want to talk about your guys' Cowboys. All right, Greg, the Cowboys won 31-28 over the Minnesota Vikings. Dallas is 3-7. Do you want them making the playoffs, or do you want them losing and getting draft picks?
I want it to be 2-14. They ruined my whole year. Are you kidding me? But okay, so they had a good effort, et cetera, against Minnesota. That's fine. They rallied to the football and tackled on defense. I was just like, what is this?
They looked very well prepared and very well coached. They did on Sunday.
They did on Sunday, right? And you know what my number one thing with them always is: be prepared to play 60 minutes.
Yes. And they did.
Yeah, wow. First time all year that there was 60 minutes of football. I was shocked. But really, 4 or 5 wins maximum. I want to get the highest draft pick possible. I mean, I would have loved to have stayed at number 3, because then JJ and the boys could have really, really played
hardball. Yeah, listen, they could trade down.
It was auction time. It was auction time because of teams who are going to need Justin Fields, right? Yep. Or another one of the high quarterbacks. But so let's say they end up 7 or 8, somewhere in there. They're just going to draft the best available defensive player.
It better be defense.
And if they don't draft defense, I'm going to come down on somebody's head.
Well, speaking of that, Eric, I wanted to ask you this. I'll ask you this question. So, I love Dallas. I'm actually, I used to hate them, but now I like them. I feel like they're a better team than people claim that they are, think that they are. But speaking of CD Lamb, I want to know, and who is a great player, who I think he's a phenomenal player, will be a great player. But do you think that they should have grabbed a defensive player over CD Lamb? Because it's not like they have a pedigree of picking great wide receivers,
Yeah. Many of us Cowboys fans expected a defensive tackle or a safety, but when he kept slipping closer and closer, you're like, could this be? And by the time they had a chance to actually put the card in, you're hoping to hear about calls in from the war room saying, here, take this. We expected, of course, the Eagles to try to do something. They got their guy. They didn't get him. So he makes bad quarterbacks look serviceable. He makes good quarterbacks look great, and on and on. He can play any receiving position on the field. He can play special teams, returns, all those things. He also gives the Cowboys flexibility to view Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Cedric Wilson, even, who's come on this year after an injury miss last year, more flexibility with them, what they might do with one of them in the offseason. versus just going all draft picks with defense. You never know. Do the Cowboys need practically an entirely new secondary, save for Trevon Diggs and Donovan Wilson? Yeah. Are they going to really get it all in one lump sum? Maybe not. Do they need one or two more defensive tackles? My God, they do. Do they need to rebuild perhaps a third to a half of their linebacking core? Depends on if Jalen Smith can do something more this year, right? But Leighton Vander Esch can't do it himself. But at the end of the day, again, CeeDee Lamb, will he become a Randy Moss-esque type player? He could, but you don't skip on that kind of talent, and you find a way after the fact. We all knew that the defense was suspect even a little bit this year.
Yeah,
CeeDee was going to make the offense blow up, but instead it all imploded. So, but my comment I was going to make I remember when I told you, yeah, the Cowboys are going to go 12-4. That's what I feel. Well, we flipped that to 4-12. They could still win the division.
They still might win the division.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric, thank you, because you said at the end of the day, and at the end of the day is one of our bingo drinking cards. So good job with at the end of the day. All right, so
people,
Greg,
happy about that.
Greg,
yeah.
this is for you. Can I make the argument that as long as Jerry Jones is making the day-by-day decisions, as long as he's controlling the draft, I look at Jerry Jones a lot like Phil Jackson when Phil Jackson went to the Knicks. Phil Jackson is not going to travel around the country and go to college basketball games like a Pat Riley would. He's not going to watch hours and hours of film. All Jerry Jones wants to do is get headlines. He's not a grinder. He should not be running the draft. He should not be running the day-to-day operations. And until they get Jerry Jones the hell out of there, they're not going back to the NFC Championship, which they haven't been since 1995. Am I way off here?
Well, the last few years you are, because JJ had to give Stephen and Will McClay the draft. Now, JJ is the face. He is the face of the franchise.
But it was him who picked CeeDee Lamb. He stepped in and said, we're getting CeeDee Lamb.
Well, everybody was going to take CeeDee Lamb because the simple fact, CeeDee Lamb falling to that spot, a couple of spots later, fly, Eagles, fly. No, we cannot let this guy go to Philadelphia. That was the bottom line with CeeDee Lamb. Yeah. You could not let that talent go to Philadelphia.
Oh, wait, guys. You're all agreeing with Greg here. Let me just say, I don't draft based on stopping someone else. I draft on what I need.
You do.
Hey,
no,
yes,
you
Pittsburgh did that to jump Cincinnati with Bush. They did it. So Cincinnati.
You don't draft to block someone else. You
yes,
your needs.
Do.
Yes, you
oh
do.
my goodness.
All the time. All the time it happens.
I'm glad that you guys are on the show. Thank you, by the way, because I need somebody to help me pick up Monty's. I'm glad that you guys are here.
Okay.
Listen, week by week, it's tough.
Okay,
it is. I understand, Rico.
So then, by your thinking, then they should. Let's say the Cowboys get the third pick or the second pick. They should draft Justin Fields because someone else is going to draft him. Just block the draft.
At that point, you're using that higher draft pick as capital. That's how you do this.
You don't
That's how you play this game.
To protect from someone else.
Yes, you do all the time. No, you don't. No, you don't. You have two equations. That's right. You have two equations that go into this. If your rival in your division, if you have a division rival picking right behind you, you get the guy that they want. You do it.
What if you don't need him, Greg?
Then you have the ability to flip it. Exactly. You keep it away from them at all costs.
So you're saying CeeDee Lamb, the reason they got him because they didn't want him to go to Philly, but that didn't help them because their offense is fine, their wide receivers are fine, their defense sucks.
Their defenses suck for 40 years.
Which is why they should have drafted a defensive player.
One extra player wouldn't have changed that.
That's right.
They need so many.
Yeah,
that's right.
A lot.
There's not a single defensive player that was going to change it. Not Patrick Queen, who I was hoping at that point to possibly get was Queen. He went to the Ravens, but not one defensive player was going to change the biggest problem with the Cowboys and their defense. It's Nolan. He runs a totally different scheme from what these guys are capable of doing. But guess what? Sunday, they played their base defense. Wow. Amazing a 4-3 defense looks like. They're capable of doing that.
Did you guys ever see the Twilight Zone where the guy's speaking the truth and everyone else thinks he's lying? This is what I feel like I'm in right now.
My father used to tell me a story about in a town there was 2 wells, one in the castle and one in the town. And in the town, the well got poisoned, and it made everybody crazy. Because everybody was crazy, everybody thought the king was crazy.
So yeah, that's what's happening right now.
But it's
All
the
right.
opposite. We
So
all know
Greg,
you're
back
a
to
crazy
the original
one.
question. Does Jerry still have the final say in the draft? And should he have that final say?
Very, very rarely. He doesn't get. This is the first time I would say in the last 4 years where Jerry put his foot down and said, "This is the guy we're taking." He has ceded that to Stephen and Will McClay
Okay.
for the last few years.
How about
Rico, I'm surprised you didn't use this.
Many facts, but you're right.
on camera? Jerry gets the credit. Behind
Right.
the
That's right.
camera, he may say, "Have at it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Jimmy Johnson said that they he called up Jerry Jones down in the office. He said he was going to make a trade. He goes, "We just traded for an offensive lineman." He said 30 minutes later, he walks down and Jerry's having a press conference. And he goes, "Jerry, what are you doing?" He goes, "I don't get cameras to come out for oil deals, but when we sign a stud offensive lineman, I get the cameras." So that's all you need to know about
Exactly.
Jerry. Okay, Rico, you have another question for Eric?
Oh, Eric, yeah. Who do you think wins on Thursday night? You think they could beat the Washington football team?
Geez, Alex Smith is an inspiration story, particularly to his team. And if he plays, they played Jacksonville this past weekend, and
They
he
played-
lit.
No, Cincy.
Cincy.
Pittsburgh
sorry.
played Jacksonville. I was about to say, wait a minute.
Yeah, sorry, lost my
I
mind there
watched
for a
that
second.
game. That's why I
He,
asked.
he lit him up pretty good. He's still mobile, even with that garish looking leg. It's an incredible story. He could inspire his team, who, when the Cowboys played Washington back in DC in week 7, before Dalton got his head mashed in, poor guy, his play was what it was. Are we saying that switching Zach Martin over to right tackle clears all that up? Maybe, maybe not. Are we saying that the improved defense over 2.5 weeks now is going to help clear that up? Maybe, maybe not. You're looking at an inspired Redskins team. I expect Dallas to win. It could be close. I wouldn't be surprised if Alex Smith again burns half of Dallas's secondary because he's able to escape the D-line just long enough. Yeah, 50-50.
I love Chase Young, the defensive lineman from Ohio State. I think he's going to cause them problems. Greg, you agree with Eric here. Do the Cowboys win this game?
Cowboys probably win it. And by the way, Rico, it's afternoon because this does not belong in prime time. Trust me, it does not belong in prime time.
Yeah, the Steelers are playing in prime time.
That's right. That's right. And they are going to feast. I mean, the Steelers will feast.
Yeah.
I hope.
But the Cowboys game against Washington, basically what you're going to have is a situation where Dalton, if given enough time, and by the way, here's something that was really scary: McGovern, Looney, and Martin. So from center to right tackle, not one pressure given up. Not one.
Yeah.
I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
McGovern didn't even get pushed around. That's the first time in 3 years that I didn't see him get pushed around.
No, listen, that for the first time all year, they look very well coached. They looked very prepared. I said it earlier. It was the best I've seen them look. They look like a well-run football team, which is kind of what people thought McCarthy would bring to them, but they've been a disaster. So
well, you saw that when they started playing Pittsburgh before the bye. You saw them starting to
getting a little better.
bit,
Yeah. Yeah.
Eric, seriously, but I always think Pittsburgh's going to win a Super Bowl. My whole life, every year I say it, but who do you think's going to win that division?
Geez. Oh, well, the conference, unless Kansas City, even when Kansas City makes
but before we get into that, Eric, you go first, and then Greg go. Who wins the NFC East?
Dallas can win it
At 6-10? 6-10?
I want the
Greg's
cake.
like, no.
I want the cake and eat it too. I want the pick, and I want the win. Even
You
if they
can't
just
have it both
collapse,
ways.
right? Maybe they could just not show up for the wild card game. Fair? Okay, we'll do that. But if Carson Wentz finds his brain before he finds the bench,
He's
you never know.
He's been
Okay.
terrible. I'm off his bandwagon. I was on his bandwagon. He's been terrible. The coach, we mentioned it earlier, the coach doesn't hold him accountable. Can I make the argument that the Giants are the Miami Dolphins of last year? Very well coached. They don't have all their players, but they're getting better. Last year, the Dolphins got better every week, and they cost the Patriots that home field playoff game because they beat them in the last week of the season. Are you guys weary about the Giants? And is Daniel Jones better than we thought?
Not so much Daniel Jones, but the Giants overall. This is another one of my things that I always talk about, Monty. Too much credit, too much blame. Stop talking about football dealing with just a bloody quarterback.
Yeah.
There are 22 guys out on the field. Yeah. It is the New York Giants. It's not Daniel Jones. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. It's not Carson Wentz, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The Giants as a team, that Giants team actually deserves at minimum 2, quite possibly 3 more wins than what they've gotten.
Yeah. Listen, you can make. I think Mike Tomlin's going to win Coach of the Year, but you can make the argument he's Coach of the Year.
I mean, for what losing Saquon Barkley? Other than McCaffrey, best running back in the league. The dual threat back that he is, right? I mean, McCaffrey. I mean that he's in another planet as far as dual threat, but his usage caught up to him this year, obviously, which is another bugaboo. But anyhow, the Giants, I think, will win the division. Now, if Dallas happens to, then fine. Old man Brady, you come to Texas.
Yeah.
Can I make the argument, Eric, that Daniel Jones has gotten better because he doesn't have the safety valve of Saquon Barkley? That long term, that this may be the best thing for the Giants because he's not always looking to him. He's had to grow as a quarterback and not rely on Saquon Barkley.
Oh, absolutely. I've been, unbeknownst to you guys, when we go back and forth on Twitter, I'm kind of an enemy of having a handful of or a couple star players who do everything for you. And then when they get injured or disappear or take a break, you completely collapse. Not in the same way as having a Peyton Manning and everybody else, but Dallas Cowboys have always had a handful of key star players. And the minute you've got to lean on your bench for a couple series, it just doesn't go right. And you look at, again, going back to say people like coaches like Norv Turner or Ernie Zampese, they were set to win with their best tools. You take a couple of those away, all of a sudden everything goes away. Playbook hasn't changed, but you have to have those guys ready. So I totally agree with that. And I admit to that. But again, you got Danny Dimes fighting against Coach Garrett's coaching crimes.
Listen, that's why I've come along on the Saints, because they were without Michael Thomas, who had 149 receptions last year. They are now, I think, 6-0 with backup quarterbacks. They're finding ways to win without Breeze, with backup quarterbacks. I don't think the Saints are going to the Super Bowl because they always fold in the playoffs, but I've come around to them because they're finding ways to win without their stars. We got about a minute left, so I want to start with you first, Eric. We're talking with Eric Scharf and Greg Rector on the Full Monty Sports Show with Rico Graziano here on YouTube. Who wins? Who goes to the AFC Championship, Eric, and who goes to the NFC Championship?
I expect KC and Pittsburgh, but I could see the Raiders and Titans getting their heads on straight and maybe forcing their way in somehow.
And in the NFC?
I expect the Saints, if Taysom Hill can continue to do what he did this weekend, they're not going to miss Breeze too much. And I expect, believe it or not, the Rams, if they can do against the Bucs what they did with that defense, and they got to keep Goff in one piece. Just keep him focused.
Listen, McVay is 32-0 when he leads at halftime, and he loves that he moves Goff around. They constantly run motion, a lot like the 49ers do, to keep you off balance, so you can't just get the quarterback, because like most quarterbacks, when Goff gets pressured, he struggles like most quarterbacks. All right, Greg, who do you got going to the AFC and NFC championships?
I've got the same 4. Steelers and Chiefs in the AFC, Rams and Saints in the NFC. And it's going to be Mahomes as your MVP, Mr. Quarterback whore, Monty, you. Yeah, it's not Russell. It's not Russell. It's not Aaron. It's not Carson.
Me and Greg are like this.
Yes. See, the quarterback whore. That's what I call him.
Oh, Monty's the worst. It went from Mariota to Carson Wentz. It's just
he loves them. He loves them all. He loves them.
Is Monty the madame?
I'll tell you who I love, and I'll tell you who I love. And you guys, listen. You guys can mock me all you want. You can say I was wrong, but I was 100% on Justin Herbert. I said everyone's missing the boat.
I did the same thing as you were last year with Justin Herbert. I kept telling, and Lion Cuban on Twitter,
yes,
the Chargers fan, right? And I kept saying, you're getting Herbert, and you're getting the best quarterback in this draft class. You are getting the best.
So you guys aren't high on the Colts, the Ravens, or the Bills? The Colts, Titans, and the Bills. The Colts beat people up, and Philip Rivers has only been sacked 9 times, so his lack of mobility has not hurt that team.
But he's about to deal with a secondary and an entire defense that is so fast and so capable of turning the ball over. The Steelers.
Rico can't stand Philip Rivers. He's hated him for 3 years because he lost him a fantasy football championship 1 year.
Twice. If Philip Rivers breaks our undefeated streak, I swear to God, I'm gonna lose it.
The Steelers are, and the Saints are in the NFC, right? And the Rams. The Saints-Rams are like 1 and 1A in the NFC, and the Steelers in the AFC are the most complete teams in the league.
I agree.
Complete. Yeah. That's it.
I think the Rams. I think the Rams are the most complete team in the NFC. I think the Steelers are the most complete team in the AFC. I'm worried about the Steelers' running game, but they could do screens to their wide receivers, run up, but their running backs have not produced. But I agree with you. I think those two are the most complete team, and we'll have a recap of the 1979 Super Bowl with the Steelers and the Rams.
I would love to see that.
Oh, Vince Ferragamo.
Wendell Tyler, Nolan Cromwell. I remember some of those Rams players.
Yeah, all right, Greg. Lopez. We need Lopez for this one.
Greg, Eric, love having you guys on. I love
Thank you guys.
We'll see you down the road. Thanks so much for taking the time out.
All right, have a good one.
See you guys on Twitter.
Take care, Greg. Greg and I always argue. We always argue.
Always.
Rico, okay, we have about another minute left. You don't draft a player. I'll give you an example. If the Knicks need a point guard and the team behind them is the Nets and they need a center, you don't draft Joel Embiid. You draft a point guard. You draft to fit your needs.
Pittsburgh with Devin Bush jumped the draft and picked him not only because they needed him, but Cincinnati Bengals were picking next, and that's who they were going to take. So Pittsburgh gave up a first round and a third round to do that. That was a big thing in the draft. And you know what, like Greg said, obviously this is something that factors in. Because you got to remember, you're playing these teams twice a year and in your division. You lose those 2 games because of a player that you let go. I mean, it's tough because, again, they don't got the pedigree of picking wide receivers. So the fact that they made that leap, I think Pittsburgh had more of a reason why they did it compared to, why Dallas did it.
Wow, what is this? Grumpy old men, Monte and Greg. What?
Oh, yeah. Ooh. Nah, you are Monte, not Greg. Greg is awesome.
All right, Rico. So tell us what you're doing for Thanksgiving.
I just cooked. I have 4 people here. I cooked 5 pies, 2 apple, a cherry, sweet potato pie. I made the stuffing. I got a turkey on the way. I got enough food. I have a ham. I mean, I'm feeding like 3 other people outside the bubble that I'm bringing them plates of food and whatnot. A few guys on my street. Some, 2 older guys that live on my street, but I'll be home. I'll be waiting. I'll be watching that Steeler game at night. I should be nice and full, eating leftovers, make myself a turkey, cranberry, and stuffing sandwich because I'm Italian. I got to make a sandwich.
No fresh mozzarella, Rico?
No, not this year. I'm not. If I was in Jersey, yes, but not in California. It's tough to find the curd.
To you and your family, happy Thanksgiving. I am thankful for you coming on every week. You've done a tremendous job. You're 9 winning weeks, 2 losing weeks against the spread. Thank you so much.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you, Monte. You mean a lot to me, and you know that. So does Nuts and Bolt and everybody else.
Take care, Rico. All right, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Yes, I get riled up. I'm going to continue this argument on Twitter. And again, I want to thank everyone for watching the Full Monty Show. I want to please, people, if you are traveling, if you are going anywhere, enjoy your Thanksgiving. But please take it easy. Don't go crazy. Don't, invite people over that shouldn't be around. Don't do that because we don't want to see anyone get sick. Be safe. Be smart. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. And in the immortal words of Llewellyn Moss, I shall return, Carla Jean. We will see you Sunday.